All right, so in this video, what we want to know is how much money we can expect to make. This is a unique problem because we don't have good data sets on this, and different influencers are saying different things. In addition to that, depending on the tenant type, the platform, the state, the property type, etc., the numbers are going to vary. So what we do know is that we know everyone is saying we should do midterm rentals because midterm rentals make more money than long-term rentals, and the tenants are easier and they are legal and they are not as much work as a short-term rental. All of which I agree with, but let's put numbers to those assumptions. So this video is going to bridge the gap between what you know currently with what you want to know around the numbers. And the way I'm going to do that is that I've spent a couple weeks prepping this data from the past 5 midterm rental tenants that I've sourced and placed for my consulting clients, and I've pulled them nationwide. That way you're not thinking this is just a Colorado thing. This video will review the money that they have made with data and screenshots so you can see what it looks like. And at the end of this video, you're gonna know what your peers are making and how much Airbnb charges. Also, I'll give you a framework for figuring out if it makes sense to be on Airbnb or not, given their fees. And if you're new to this channel, welcome. My name is Erin Spradlin. I am a midterm rental consultant. I primarily work with new investors or people new to the midterm rentals space. If you are curious about consulting or you need extra help with your midterm rentals, I will drop information on how to book consulting and different consulting packages in the description. So I was inspired to make this video after receiving the following email this week. Erin, in your consulting, do you share insurance, relocation, corporate, medical, etc. contracts? Is there training in that arena in order to get those contracts / more lucrative deals? And I thought to myself, what the lucrative deal? And the reason why I had that question is A, because the word lucrative is so subjective, and also because whenever I hear the word deal in real estate, a lot of red flags start to go off. And that's because deal can also mean a lot of things to a lot of different people. And in my opinion, responsible real estate investing shouldn't involve a deal so much as it should involve very clear third-party data reporting. That way you have the exact information you need without any subjective ideas around whether or not that's a good deal. So that's what this video is going to cover. It's going to cover raw third-party data, and we'll do an analysis of it and talk about it. That way you can make a more informed decision with your midterm rentals. All right, let's talk agenda for a minute. First, this is part 1 of a 5-part series. This video is going to cover data from the last 5 midterm rentals I've sourced, and these rentals have been located in Colorado, Missouri, Georgia, Texas, and Maryland. And yes, I consult nationwide. Yes, I'm taking on new clients. Yes, you should email me if you are interested. And yes, I would love to work with you. Other things to note, I've been doing this since 2017. I have a 92% occupancy rate, and I offer a 1-hour package, a 2-hour package, and a hold my hand package, all of which I have put links to in the description if you want more information on them. Okay, agenda. So what it's going to look like today is what my 5 most recent midterm rental hosts have made. So the people that I've helped host, what they've made. So what has hit their bank account after the Airbnb fees. Second, the difference in what you can charge on Airbnb versus the non-Airbnb sites. So Furnished Finder, Zillow, Avail, etc. And then finally, one little point of confusion that comes up for a lot of hosts. That's something that shows up in the Airbnb calendar that is confusing for them, and that I think you could benefit from just having clarification on, because then you won't get stuck on it when you're trying to set your pricing and calendaring. Now I'll discuss how these numbers would look different if they came out of Zillow, Furnished Finder, Avail, the other platforms, etc. in a second. But this video is specific to doing midterm rentals, so 30+ day stays on Airbnb. And the money that I'm about to reflect is from Airbnb. So I just want to be crystal clear about that, because it's what you will see in your bank account. It's what the people that I've helped consult on, what they have received on their first rental. And we'll talk about how the numbers would look different if they came out of any site that's not Airbnb. Okay, so in Colorado, the host got paid $3,201. In Missouri, the host got paid $3,156. In Georgia, they got paid $4,994. In Texas, they got paid $7,930. And in Maryland, they got paid $2,599. Again, these are averages, okay? So the average for these rentals was $4,376.91 for their first rental, and on average, they were making $101 per night. And here you can just see the screenshot so that you can see that the numbers match up with what I'm telling you. It also brings me to an important second point, which is that what you get paid is different than what the tenant pays. Before we get to that though, a quick request. So if you want more videos that are data oriented, please like this video. If you want notifications every time I put out a new video, please subscribe. If you are having any trouble furnishing, or you need a furniture checklist, or you're curious about the furniture I use, I now have an Amazon furniture storefront specific for midterm rentals. You can go check it out. It should be helpful, hopefully. Fourth, if you are part of Facebook or any kind of group that talks about midterm rentals a lot and you think that this video would be helpful, I would love it if you shared it there. Okay, so now let's get into the difference as far as what you can charge on Airbnb versus what the tenant is actually paying. On average, the guest paid $4,855.50, and the host got paid $4,222.50. The data gap here for the Georgia property, I actually don't have the screenshot of what the tenant paid, so I've excluded it from this data. So the data I'm reporting right here is for 4 rentals. So on average, the guest paid $4,855.50, and the host got paid $4,222.50. And the difference that Airbnb took was $633. Now, that sounds like a lot of money, and it is, but it is approximately 6 days of vacancy because it is $101 per day. So while we all bemoan the fees on Airbnb, there are 2 things you should think about. So again, the first, 600 is approximately 6 days at $101 per day. So if this is a volume game and you get way more eyes through Airbnb, do you have confidence that you will rent 6 days faster on those other platforms? Because that's what you care about. That's when it makes it worth it to incur the Airbnb fees versus not. So if you stay unrented on those other platforms for 6 days, when you have confidence you would have been rented on Airbnb before that, then Airbnb has essentially paid for itself. I also make that same argument for me. How many days sooner do you have to get rented for it to be worth it to book me? Okay, I have to sell myself a little bit in these videos. It is how I get paid. So let's go to point number 2. So those other platforms don't offer the Airbnb insurance. So this is AirCover. It's up to $3 million for your personal property, and it's up to $1 million for liability. So there's that. Also, you don't have a guarantee that the tenant is gonna pay you if they cancel last minute, whereas on Airbnb, they do. If a tenant cancels within 30 days of their 30+ day midterm stay, you get that first full month. If they cancel before that, they get a full refund. But if you're off of Airbnb and you've signed a lease but no money has been exchanged and then they walk, it's really not worth your while to go find them and try and get that money back. Whereas on Airbnb, it's just automatic. As a disclaimer here, Airbnb does not pay me, but it is just a fundamental, very important part of my business, which is why I speak so highly of it. All right, now on to the other platforms. So Zillow, Furnished Finder, Avail. The difference between them is that they are more like a marketplace. They're like Facebook Marketplace in the sense that you just put up your product, you maybe pay to be part of the program, maybe you don't. So on Furnished Finder, you pay for it. On Zillow, Avail, you do not pay to be on it. But the Furnished Finder fee is nominal compared to Airbnb's, but you're paying to be on that marketplace and to showcase your property. But then you don't have any other fees after that. So you're leasing, you're collecting deposits, etc., and you're doing that all as the individual. Whereas Airbnb doesn't offer a lease, it doesn't offer a deposit, but it's like the strength of the Airbnb AirCover. All of those issues are covered, or that's how they would like you to think about it. I tend to think about it that way. I tend to feel the most protected on Airbnb because Airbnb, the corporation, has a lot more money and they have a lot more motivation to get you, the host, paid and to keep you happy, more so than an individual tenant does, or even that your insurance does. So you are off Airbnb, you're on these other platforms, so Zillow, Furnished Finder, etc. You have no additional fees. What that means is that as a host, you're going to make more on those, and you're going to charge them what the guest pays on Airbnb, because we know the guest is willing to pay this amount for this length of stay. And then Airbnb is going to take out their cut, and then you get the result. But on those other platforms, the logic still holds true. The guest is willing to pay this much. There's just no cut. This would seem like, well, of course I would use those other platforms because I'm going to make more money, approximately $600 per stay more on those platforms. But it's a volume game. Are you confident that you can get someone in quickly 6 days before you would on Airbnb? And are you comfortable not having the level of protection that you have on Airbnb? Okay, so now let's get to this point of confusion. And the point of confusion is the base rate price. So right here off to the right on the screen in Airbnb. So here when we look at the screen, we see what the nightly rate is, and then the base rate doesn't line up with that. And so people understandably are often like, what does that mean? So the base rate really serves two purposes. The first is that it's the default rate, it's the default daily rate you get if you don't set your pricing on the monthly level, which you should do. It's important if you're in the midterm space, because just like the short-term space, there's seasonality and certain months are worth more to you than others. This is another reason to use Airbnb, is that you can bake in the seasonality, which you really can't on those other platforms. They might roll it out in the future, but currently you can't. So that's point number one. It's the base rate. It is the daily rate that will be defaulted to is the base rate if you don't set your pricing. And second, it is the maximum amount you can charge for your pet fee. So you cannot charge a pet fee higher than the base rate. And that is a one-time fee. So if someone comes in with 3 pets, you only get to charge them that $150. It's not $150 per pet. It is the maxed out on the base rate. There's no distinction here if they're bringing in 2 or 3 animals. It is a pet fee that includes all pets. Again, if you found any part of this video helpful, please like it. The next video in this series will be my long-term rentals versus midterm rentals. This is a very common question from my clients, and it's a great question. When does it make sense to have a midterm rental versus when it makes sense to have a long-term rental? And we'll use the same data set so you have transparency and know what you're looking at.